Hey guys, how you all doing, and welcome to my 2019 first aid kit video. Today I'm going to go over 4 things. Number 1, the absolute most important thing when it comes to first aid. Number 2, some basic first aid principles. Number 3, my dedicated first aid gear, so what I carry specific for first aid. And number 4, the first aid gear that I carry that's not really dedicated to first aid, so stuff I can use in case of emergency that I have in my kit. But first, it's time for my new intro. Take a look. So the first thing that you should do when putting together a basic first aid kit or a first aid plan is go and do a first aid course. The more specific to your activity, the better. So for us hikers, it's going to be a more, wilderness survival, remote area type first aid course. And there's a lot of places out there which run them. So invest the money, invest the time, and first and foremost, go do one of those courses. Now, onto the second topic, the basic first aid principles. And really, for us hikers out there, and for really any first aid provider, there's 3. That is to stabilize, to prevent further damage or injury, and to seek further help. If you take something like a broken arm, for example, out on the trail, so you obviously need to stabilize the patient or the casualty, whatever it is you want to call them first. So, comfort, reassurance, maybe some mild pain medication. Then looking at, slinging or splinting the arm, which is going to stabilize the patient and that area, but also prevent further damage and injury. And then look at seeking further medical assistance. Now, this is usually going to be through extraction, whether that be self-extraction or somebody coming in to get you. If you take the example of something like a cut finger, obviously you don't need to stabilize the patient that much, but you do need to just prevent further damage and injury. So something like a Band-Aid will prevent infection and, accidentally tearing the cut open again. So nice and simple, and odds are you're probably not going to seek further assistance or medical help with something like a cut finger. So really, the seriousness of the injury or the incident will dictate how much of which principle you apply, whether it's all 3 to the maximum effect for something really, really serious, or if it is something like that cut finger, you just really need to apply that prevent further injury or damage to that finger with the Band-Aid. So, in any situation, you want to apply those 3 principles, and you kind of want to tailor your kit to applying those 3 principles. At no real point, in first aid is your job to completely cure the patient or to completely fix the actual problem. You're not going to be able to set and mend a broken bone. If there's serious bleeding or something like that, you're not going to be able to provide suturing or anything of that nature. Your job again is really to stabilize, to prevent anything getting, that situation from getting worse, and to get further medical assistance to you, or for you to get to further medical assistance. So bearing that in mind, let's get to point number 3 and point number 4 and look at some gear. So this is my dedicated first aid gear. Over there I've got my non-dedicated first aid gear, which we'll get to a little bit later on. But this is what I carry specifically when it comes to first aid. As you can see, it's pretty minimalist, but it allows me to achieve those 3 principles in pretty much any situation. So up the top here, I've got a dedicated snake bandage along with a crate bandage. So this covers any poisonous, animal bites, so snakes, spiders. It also helps cover sprains and strains and things like that. Breaks, if I need to splint something and stabilize something, that covers that. I've got some Band-Aids for your, your kind of cuts and scrapes and scratches and stuff if I need to cover a small wound. I've got some anti-inflammatory painkillers, so that helps with that. Again, helps stabilizing, but headaches and things like that, that covers that really well. Over here, I've just got some alcohol swabs and some antiseptic first aid cream. Again, this comes back to just keeping any wound nice and clean, keeping it stable, preventing it from getting worse. We'll come back to the Sharpie shortly. We'll go over here. This is my blister tape, so it's just some simple kind of tape you can get from the shops. Really nice and simple. It comes in long strips, and I just cut it to size and just carry what I need, so not too much of that. Over here I've got a bunch of safety pins. Now these are really useful in a number of situations. You can make things like slings with your shirt from that if you've got an arm injury or anything like that. So they're just nice and handy to have. Now, probably my most important bit of first aid gear is this. This helps cover the principle of seeking further help. Definitely don't rely on mobile reception if you're out hiking. Something like a PLB is absolutely worth its weight in gold when it comes to first aid. Again, you're not really going to be able to fully cure somebody out on the trail. You just need to stabilize, you need to prevent them from getting worse, and then you need to get further medical assistance. And the best way to do that, if you can't hike out and need somebody to come to you, is with one of these. I can't stress enough how important it is to have something like a PLB. Everything is carried in just a nice simple waterproof Ziploc bag, nothing special there. Coming back over to the Sharpie, this is a really good little item I suggest you have in your first aid kit, just because it helps with documenting times and patient condition, etc. So if you do need to put a really extreme situation, a tourniquet on, you can easily mark what time it goes on with this, put a big T across their forehead that there is one on the patient. If there's a spider bite and you do need a wrap, or a snake bite and you do need to wrap the wound in the bandage, putting across where the wound is on the leg. So in hospital they just cut out that small patch where the bite is, and then they can test that specific area for the correct anti-venom, and they don't undo the whole bandage. So little things like that, a Sharpie is really invaluable. Lots of other reasons, lots of other things you can use that, but just some basic examples there. So yeah, that's pretty much my first aid kit. It's nice, it's simple, it covers the situations I'm most likely to encounter out on the trail, and it helps me cover those three basic principles. But I definitely use some of my other gear as first aid gear if I need it in extreme situations, rather than doubling up in the actual first aid kit. So let's move on over here, and I'll show you some everyday items that you might carry in your pack that you can use as first aid gear. Okay, so these are 3 or 4 really basic examples of first aid gear. Starting off with the pocket knife, really kind of self-explanatory. You can use this as shears, to remove any items of clothing in case of an emergency. It's also got things like little tiny tweezers and stuff like that, so they help with splinters and little things like that. So a pocket knife, I don't carry a dedicated knife in the first aid kit. In my first aid kit, there's no need. The pocket knife doubles up as that perfectly fine. Something like a temp pole, so this is my temp pole for my duo mid. This is great in case I ever need to splint an arm or a leg or anything like that. Carbon fiber, it's nice and stiff, nice and solid. At a pinch you can easily use a stick, but this is definitely something that you could also use to help splint any broken limb. Or if you do have a snake bite or something, you need to splint that area, again, this is a great tool for the job. Moving on over to the belt, so this can be used as a tourniquet. As you can see, it's a pretty solid belt, or again it can be used to help splint and stabilize any particular wound. Now when it comes to major bleeding and stuff, you can see that I don't really carry any serious gauze or anything like that. Instead, a kind of everyday item that you can use are socks. So these are my thick, warm sleeping socks. So I only wear these socks to bed. So they're cleaner than kind of my everyday wear sock, but when you're bleeding out, who cares that much? The priority is to stop the bleeding. Regardless, these could do a great job at helping prevent any bleeding. So, you know, if there is some major bleeding somewhere, wrapping this up, chucking that on the wound, and then I've got my my crate bandage and my snake bandage, which I can wrap around to apply extra pressure to help with the bleeding situation. So again, something that really simply doubles up that I carry anyway, which I don't need to carry another piece in my first aid kit because it's a little bit pointless. And these are just some simple examples. Those of you that carry hiking poles, duct tape around your hiking poles or strapping tape around your hiking poles is a really good idea. I might put some duct tape on the tent pole here. Duct tape can be used for a lot of different situations. It's really quite handy. So guys, that's it for this video. Definitely the whole first aid space can be a pretty big topic. I tried to keep this video nice and short, reasonably short anyway, so I hope you got something out of it. Thumbs up if you did. As always, thank you for watching, and until next time, happy trails.